Thank you for joining us here today. Let me ask you first, what has brought about your interest in Julian Assange's case?
I'm interested in justice overall, but also I'm the secretary of the National Union of Journalists parliamentary group. So it's a group of MPs who are the voice of journalists in Parliament, basically. And we've seen this case as, I think, one of the most significant in relation to journalistic practice in this country and globally as well, because journalists should have the right to report. They should have the right to be able to report, particularly state misdemeanors or state crimes. What Assange did, I think, was a benefit to the whole world, exposing what was going on, and I think was a fine example of journalism at its best. And if you suppress the role of journalists like that, you know as well as I do, governments can never be held to account.
Right, exactly. And how much support do you have in Parliament as well as the overall British government for your work?
We're a cross-party group, so we're drawn from all political parties. There are MPs across the political spectrum who have been raising this case and identifying it as a real threat to journalistic standards and democracy itself. So again, we've been raising this issue in Parliament time and time again. Government has said nothing, really. They've left it to the courts to decide. Well, we'll see today what the courts decide.
Absolutely. And do you have time to explain to us, what you're looking into in terms of misconduct?
Okay. Thanks to the work that Stefani Morizzi has done over years, real intensive investigative journalism, she contacted me, and because she was having difficulty getting freedom of information responses from the Crown Prosecution Service. It's a statutory procedure. They have to respond to those sort of questions. There's a duty of openness and transparency upon them. That clearly wasn't happening. So she asked me to ask similar questions. I did, and I was getting the same runaround. But as a result of Stefani's research, we identified clear evidence. There's clear evidence of the Crown Prosecution Service's interference in the case. In other words, trying to influence the Swedish authorities to facilitate Julian's extradition, first to Sweden, but clearly then on to America. It was obvious what was going on. So we've asked, what we have in this country in Parliament is what they call a select committee. It looks at individual departments and state organisations, how they operate. We've asked the select committee, which looks at justice overall, to examine, hold an inquiry into the role of the Crown Prosecution Service. Because in our view, and again, it's MPs from myself, Labour Party, Jeremy Corbyn Labour, David Davis, a Conservative, ex-Conservative minister, and Caroline Lucas of Greens, so across party, we've asked them to institute an investigation now, short, sharp investigation, because we believe that will expose the CPS's, Crown Prosecution Service, interference in this case.
And we're hoping to talk to some of those other members of Parliament later today. Are you going into the courthouse?
I will try to. The arrangements here are, I have to say, dreadful when it comes to open democracy, open transparency. But we'll seek to, and I'm hoping we get a positive decision and Julian is freed.
And it seems as if we keep seeing, like, whether or not we can get people into the court to observe proceedings, when you're talking about the misconduct, it just proves the overall aspects of all this, right?
Well, there's been obstacle after obstacle thrown in the case of securing justice in Julian's case, and you've seen that from different sections of it, both in terms of the state, but we've also seen that in terms of the courts. My view, this case could have been decided years ago and Julian would be released. I visited him in prison. They put him in the high security prison of Belmarsh. I visit for other constituents that have been in there. It's a brutal regime. We've had suicide, self-harm, etc. Julian, as a result of strength of character, has survived all this, but it's been tough.
Right. All of us who've been watching this, it's just one injustice, right, piled on top of all the injustice that come, and it's compounding, and it makes it as if it's very clear that what they're trying to do is to cover up the crimes they've done before.
I think it's covering up past crimes. It's also sending a message to journalists all over the world: don't you dare report the truth. If we allow Julian to be treated in this way, no journalist is safe.
Well, I want to thank you for being willing to lead on this effort, to put yourself in the position, to put yourself out there in a way that many of your peers are not. I hope you will come to the U.S., speak to my members of Congress, because we have a dearth of support as well. But I want to thank you, John. I'll let you get going, and hopefully we can talk again later today.
Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you, John. That was John McDonnell, who's a member of Parliament. He is putting forward a investigation into misconduct by the Crown Prosecution Service. We have now on deck, we have Ambassador Craig Murray, who has